with Mocienne Petit Jackson. Welcome to my channel. I am back where I wanted to be, in this beautiful place. I especially came here to record the sunset, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I really want to show you how beautiful this is. I'm gonna put out my head so that you can see me. Some people ask me if there are things that I regret that I didn't ask my father, Michael Jackson, when he was alive. And I can say no. There's nothing that I regret that I didn't do, I didn't ask. For me to be kidnapped with so much brutality that I still have the scars on my body and fighting for my own identity, it have been devastating throughout of my life. Even when I became a mother of my son, that's supposed to be the most beautiful time in the life of a human, becoming a parent, my identity was still being used against me by the Dutch government. And because Michael Jackson decided that he didn't want me to live the kind of life that he lived in a spotlight. And in one side you can say you cannot blame him, because his whole life he was in the spotlight, but he didn't take care of business to protect me that well, so that I could not have a life in the spotlight and still be his child and getting the attention that I needed. You know, I was born and I was really dumped. I was dumped in this world to be completely alone and take care of my own problem without no one being there to make me feel safe and protect me. So my identity have been taken away from me when I was kidnapped in 1984. Very brutal, very brutal. And then people try for years, try to brainwash me, taking away my ideas of where I come from. Where I come from was very easy for me. I was a young child living in California with a couple of nannies, the best in the world. I was in love with my Chinese teacher who was educating me Mandarin. I could not wait every week to see her, to learn something new, how to write and how to read Chinese Mandarin. I was being educated in a small private group with very naughty children who were nice, lovely, and I love them all. I love our discussions, I love our play, I love that some of them were smarter than me. Everything was just great. I love our housekeeping, Maria. I love my nannies. I love the bodyguards. The only person I did not like was Bill, my father's private bodyguard. I couldn't stand that man. He always looked at me with his rejected eyes. Couldn't stand him. And to me, he looked very strange as a man because he was mixed race, and I just really didn't like him. But the rest, I loved. And then I was deported to Dominican Republic. I accidentally became very sick, and I stayed there in a hospital for a very long time. And then I was deported to living with my family in Haiti that I have never met before. And who was my father? My father was an American guy called Michael Joseph Jackson, and he was a police officer working for the army and the police in America. He did work at the Secret Service he was doing, and he was proud with his job. And because he had to go to a very special mission, I had to stay for a while with my family in Haiti. But he will come back and bring me back to America. So from America, I went to live a half year in Dominican Republic. That was very exciting because in Dominican Republic, I could see children in that time, me not knowing that my father was Michael Jackson. So I have seen the children doing the moonwalk, and the Billie Jean. So all these moves that my father created through the years in his videos, I saw that in that time. That was 1982. I saw the street dancing boy in the Dominican Republic doing this dance. My father wake me up mid in the night, and we went on the street, and we went to see all these boys with the talented dancing. And my father and I were watching it, and he was holding me like his life depended on it. And the music and the food. I love the Dominican Republic. The culture, it was phenomenal. In my eyes, it was phenomenal. I was being taken care of very nice people. It was the first time in my life I saw desperation in the eyes of the people, and and um, and it was phenomenal. So much happened. And in Dominican Republic, I learned to speak Spanish, and I learned nasty words when I was in the children's hospital. They took care of me, very nice, took care of me. And I play football in the hospital with other children. They were sick. We love each other. And I remember my grandmother, Katharine Jackson, visited me one time. I was very, very sick. And she was cold. She was really, really cold. But I don't know what she was thinking, but my grandmother, Katharine, was there. And I was feeling like I was going to die, but she was there. I remember very well. And later my father came. I still don't know what was wrong with me as a child. I write that in my book, Thriller Betrayal. I was very sick as a child. I still don't know what is wrong with me. I still have some of the complaints. Sometimes I have very extremely high fever out of nowhere. I have to keep them on my life. When I was pregnant with Joshua, I didn't have them, but I had to take a lot of rest because my blood pressure was too high, and that's something that's keep coming up and down. And I also had that when I was a child. But I remember being in the hospital for a very long time in the Dominican Republic. The nurses were so incredible, kind. They were so sweet to me. I remember them. I felt totally home. Oh, I remember them. They were so kind. They were so sweet. They were so sweet for us. They were not only sweet for me, but they were sweet for all the children in the hospital. They were all angels. And when my father came into it, it was like, and I remember being sick and my father holding me in the hospital. And all the nurses came in and out, in and out. Everybody came to say hello to my father. And as a child, I did not understand it. Did not understand it. Did not understand it. I understood that my father was a very pretty guy, very nice guy. But it was after when I was kidnapped, years later, that I could understand, oh, they were saying hello to Michael Jackson. And there were not even a lot, but they were very private, very. So I want to say to the Americans, nurses that took care of me, I remember you all. You were my angels. And yeah. So I don't know. I wish that um, I could have asked my father questions, questions about his life, questions about where he would like to go with his life, if he was happy. Because when I see my father's videos in the 80s, and I compare them with my father in the 90s, I see a totally different man. I don't see the Michael Jackson in the 19 is totally someone else in my view. And I see a different father that he was than when he was with me in Haiti. I mean, can you imagine my father waking me up in Dominican Republic, and we are going night out to see artists dancing on the street? It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And my father, he held me like I was a baby, and he had a hat on. And later on, I understand it was all disguise, and he was holding me. I was very small. I was very small as a child, and he really held me. And then we went to see all these dancers, and it was phenomenal. It was so incredible, phenomenal. And the excitement to see that as a child, there are no words to describe how exciting that was. And I don't see him. I don't see that he have done this kind of things with his other children. But I did heard Prince saying one thing, that sometimes their father went to sit on the roof and look at the stars. And there was nothing. There was nothing than what he did with me. He went much farther. I'm happy that I didn't have to go to an embarrassment going to Disney, and that my father had to close Disney especially for him. I would be very embarrassed. So I'm happy he wasn't my father in that time. I would not have been happy. What he gave me as my dad when I was young in the 80s is just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And I think having this incredible childhood made me survive my identity of who I am. But I have to tell you one very dramatic thing. When I was kidnapped, the drugs that they feed me, it was so horrible that I became sick for a year. The doctors in the Netherlands, they really had to save my life. And some people said that because I was so sick, I decided that I wanted to be related to Michael Jackson. You know, I became so sick because when I was kidnapped, I was being hurt and beaten and with knife in my body because Michael Jackson was my father. I suffered because he was my father. And I was thinking, Michael Jackson, what are you talking about? Which Michael Jackson are you talking about? My father is a police officer working in the army, you know, and my father is doing something special. And they were just beating me up because I did not know that my father was a huge superstar since the age of 8 years old. That I did not know. I didn't know. My father was a superstar and famous artist, one of the famous artists in the world in a group called the Jackson 5. I mean, they abused me because of that. They abused me because I did not know Michael Jackson was my father. And they tried to find out things that I didn't know. I did not know nothing. I knew nothing. So when I was kidnapped and I found out the first album that I ever saw of my father was the album Thriller. And I was like really shocked. And I hysterically cried. I cried, couldn't believe it. And then the second LP that I saw was my father's album Of the Wall. And Of the Wall is one of my favorite albums of Michael Jackson of all time. I don't even like other albums. They are making photos and baby, but the baby don't like it. So maybe it says he doesn't like to be photographed, so he's crying. So I wanted to survive. You know, I didn't even care about people in pain. I realized very quick when I was kidnapped that I was there for the money. And then I was there that people want to get rid of me. And I have always known that my father was going to murder